did I peak at 21, leaving the company after I sold it at 21?
Yeah.
And then what is your definition of peaking? What is your definition of what that success is that peaks at that age? I don't know if we'll sell another company. As I've been thinking like, okay, I hit a lot of success early in my life. What does that mean? Will the rest of my life be less successful? And I think that really was what was making me question, how do we define success? The inspiration came, I was actually just playing with my daughter in her playroom. I had recently left the meet group and I got a call from one of my best friends, Alyssa, and she was so upset. I could tell she was holding back tears and she was just under so much pressure. So she had been in her current role for a while and basically people kept quitting and she kept being like saddled with all of their work. And she kept being told she was going to be promoted, but nothing was happening. And she was just getting to her breaking point. And then on top of that, she had two kids under 4. And she was just like, I feel like I'm too snappy with them. And she just felt like she was just barely hanging on. And I felt it was such a universal experience that we're getting this burnout, that where people are just adapting to their work situations and not realizing what it means for the rest of their life. I started it when I was 15. So I had to navigate all of life while building a huge thing while still having to have the normal parts of my identity, being a student, eventually dating, meeting my husband, having children, all of that as my other interests too, like running and maintaining those identities while still building something. And I know it's possible. And so I wanted to share how I managed to navigate that and lessons I learned from doing it. Cause obviously it's a lot of failure along the way of, okay, how do you make life work while still trying to reach your goals, reach your professional goals? Because when I talk about this in the book, that was a huge realization that it's like, oh, okay, I don't want to define success that way. That's not for me. And as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next after leaving the meet group, I called one of my mentors and I was talking to her on the phone. And in my head, I was like, okay, she's going to be, and I knew I wanted to stay home for a year with my daughter. And then, of course, I was writing the book that time too. And my daughter was 4 months old at the time. And I was telling her, I was like, I almost felt like I was like breaking the news to her. I'm planning on staying home for at least a year. And she was like, yeah, you do that. That's amazing. That's what I did. The one piece of advice I hope everyone will take away is to really foster connections with those around you. Cause I think that's going to be just the most important aspect of how you're going to get through everything you need to get through. And my last chapter of my book, it's called Roadblocks. And it's because everyone's going to hit roadblocks along their way, along their journey. And the way you get through those is having people who support you. And you need those people in your corner, people who can support you. When we were building the company, one of the things that it's hard to maintain control of the company for 18 years. And that wouldn't have existed if we didn't hadn't fostered meaningful connections over the course of 18 years. So yeah, you might not know how a connection can mean something for you 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And so I think as you're navigating the world, treat everyone with kindness because one, you should just do that as like a good person.